Today, we're going to crack open a story that starts with a really simple, almost ridiculous idea, but ends up asking some pretty huge questions about our world. It's basically a modern fable, all about a pig named Barnaby P. and his one completely impossible dream.
You can just hear the grumbling in that voice, can't you? I mean, this was Barnaby's life, every single day in the pen. A whole chorus of doubters, just staring at the mud, laughing at his dreams of seeing the world. To them, his little travel plans were a total joke.
So picture it. It was a completely ordinary day. The sky was gray, the mud was, well, muddy. Everything was exactly how it was supposed to be. And then, at exactly 10:04 in the morning, the universe decided to take an old saying very, very literally. With this sudden little flip sound, it was like gravity just took a break. That old dismissal, when pigs fly, well, it stopped being a figure of speech and suddenly became a set of instructions. And just like that, Barnaby, our hopeful hero in the aviator goggles, was in the air, leaving a very, very confused farm far below.
So there he goes. Barnaby's impossible dream is taking flight. As he's soaring up there, leaving all the mud and the skeptics behind, he's finally seeing the world. What he doesn't know, though, is that by breaking one little rule of nature, he's just pulled a thread that's about to unravel, well, everything. And here's where it gets really weird. See, when something as fundamentally impossible as a pig flying actually happens, it kind of makes room for other impossible things to start happening too. The first domino to fall wasn't a law of physics, it was a law of human nature.
Which brings us to our first impossible event. First stop, Washington, D.C. As Barnaby cruises high above the nation's capital, something strange starts to happen on the ground. The truth, it seems, is suddenly impossible to avoid.
You can just see the pained look of honesty on this guy's face. As Barnaby flew over the Capitol, this politician at a podium was suddenly forced to speak his actual thoughts. And of course, the crowd was in shock. Gasp! And the chaos just keeps spreading. A few blocks away, a lobbyist finds himself physically unable to hand over a bribe. His conscience, which was probably dormant for years, just inconveniently rebooted itself. The entire machine of politics is just grinding to a halt. And the chain reaction doesn't stop. It keeps going, creating a new world in some really bizarre ways. The effects weren't just social either. As Barnaby's journey continues, the very laws of nature and technology start to warp around his impossible flight. This brings us to impossible event number 2, the Refreeze. As Barnaby flies over the Arctic, something incredible happens. We see these huge chunks of the ice cap start clicking back together like puzzle pieces, basically reversing decades of melting in one impossible moment. And what's great is the perspective from down on the ice. For this polar bear, the impossible refreeze isn't some big climate miracle. It's just a moment of profound, confused, and honestly pretty darkly funny relief.
But of all the impossible things that happened, this third event was maybe the most unbelievable, the most fundamentally world-shattering of them all. Internet civility.
Yep, you're reading that right. The internet became polite, thoughtful even. As Barnaby flew over these massive server farms, the global network of anonymous screaming was suddenly replaced with respectful debate. Even Barnaby, looking down from the clouds, was just confused. Oink. So you'd think this would be a utopia, right? A world with no lies, a healing planet, a polite internet. Sounds great. Well, turns out humanity isn't really built for utopia. In fact, a world without its comfortable illusions is a complete and total disaster. Let's take the global economy. It was built on a very delicate foundation of, well, let's call them optimistic projections. Faced with pure, unvarnished honesty, the whole thing started to crumble. The panic, as you can see from this CEO, was existential. The 24-hour news cycle just died. Without conflict, outrage, or wild speculation, there was simply nothing to report. News anchors, for the first time in history, were completely and utterly bored. And this wave of unbearable truth just trickled down into everyday life. All of a sudden, you have these painfully awkward confessions between neighbors. One admits his secret shame, only for the other to confess an even worse truth in return. All the small, polite fictions holding society together were just unraveling. And that was the great satirical punchline of Barnaby's flight.
Humanity had achieved a kind of world peace, and they absolutely could not stand it for a single second.
So, we get to the final act, restoring the status quo. People quickly realized that the phrase, "when pigs fly," wasn't just an idiom, it was a shield protecting them from inconvenient truths. And with that shield gone, they desperately wanted the old world back.
And so a single cry went up all around the world. Mobs weren't demanding justice or freedom, they were demanding the right to be comfortable. They were demanding, "bring back the lies," and they blamed the one responsible, the pig in the sky. The world's powers, desperate to restore the comfortable, predictable chaos they actually understood, mobilized. And their mission was grimly simple: ground the pig, get gravity working the way it's supposed to. And as he's dodging a net fired from a skyscraper, you can see the exact moment of understanding on Barnaby's face. He had achieved his impossible dream. But his dream had become everyone else's nightmare. His freedom had become their cage. And so, at 10:04 p.m., exactly 12 hours after he took off, Barnaby came back down. With a final, soft squelch, he landed in the mud. Gravity returned, lies returned, the internet went back to screaming. And as you can see, the old, cynical pig pretty much summed up the entire world's profound sense of relief.
You know, this story leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. Barnaby got his dream, but the world totally rejected it. It makes you wonder what our own comfortable impossibilities are, and whether we'd really want to live in a world without them. What do you think?